It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show.
Welcome to our weekly Rotary meeting. It's my pleasure today to welcome our guest, Sam Lesante. Sam is CEO of Samsung Productions, SSP TV. He graduated from King's College with a BS degree. He received his MBA from Temple University. He's received a lot of awards, including the Distinguished Pennsylvania Award from Governor Thornburg in 1980. He received the Distinguished Swerve Award from the Greater Hazleton Jaycees in 1979. He served on the Hero Scholarship in Philadelphia and is on the Hospice of the Sacred Heart Board. Sam was the general chairman for the Muscular Dystrophy Telethon for 10 years on ABC. He has co-produced and hosted, along with Academy Award winner Jack Palance, in a national TV series. Sam is married to Debbie Lesante for 49 years, and they have 2 children, twins Jeannie and Sam Jr., and he has been in the television entertainment field for over 50 years. It's my pleasure to welcome Sam Lesante.
I was driving to my office in the late 80s, working on developing local neighborhood television shows. And I just finished praying the rosary, and I put the radio on. And at that time, there was some controversy in Hazleton over a number of things that were going on. And people were calling up, they were complaining, and they were upset and the whole bit. Fred Williams, I don't know if you remember him, he was the host of the show. And in my mind, I'm listening to all these people, and a guy from McAdoo calls. And he says to Fred, he says, Mr. Williams, he says, all I would hope is if they would just let the people know. That's all we want, just let the people know. And that echoed in my mind when I was saying, well, I'm going to develop neighborhood television programming. And that's all people want to know is just give me information that's factual and it's true. And so I'm thinking, how do I put all these things together? There's so many things going through my mind. And of course, I was working with Jack Palance at the time. We were working on a national television show. I had my talent show, Spotlight Talent Showcase. And that's where I got the idea. When I saw all the talent we had in northeastern Pennsylvania, and I said, why don't we just have local stuff, local news on television? I interviewed, at that time I was doing my show, still am, and I interviewed this guest. I thought it was good. It was a controversial situation. The next day, Jack Palance called me. He said, we have a production meeting here at 11 o'clock at the house. I said, good, Jack. I said, oh, Jack, by the way, did you see the show I did last night? He said, yes, I did. I said, what'd you think? He said, well, how'd you like it? I said, I thought it was pretty good. He said, well, Sammy, let me ask you a question. He said, how could you make that show 10% better? I said, why? Didn't you like the show? He said, no. He said, just think, how could you make that show 10% better? What would you have done? Then I began to think in my mind, well, when I asked this question, maybe when he answered, I could have did this. And all of a sudden, I said, yeah, I could really have done that. And here I go in my mind, I'm thinking about all these things. And then it reminded me of a story about Henry Kissinger. How many remember Henry Kissinger? We all do. Henry gave this assignment to one of his agents, and it was a 3-month assignment. And after 3 months, the agent went in, gave Mr. Kissinger a report, said, Mr. Kissinger, here it is. He said, thank you very much. The next day, Kissinger calls him in the office, and he says, I want you to redo this. So he picks up the project, works on it for another 2-3 weeks, brings it back, gives it to Mr. Kissinger. Next day, Kissinger calls him and says, I want you to redo this. Takes it, works on it for 4 weeks, brings it back, puts it in his office. Next day, Kissinger calls him, I want you to redo this. And the agent says, Mr. Kissinger, there is absolutely nothing else I can do. I've done the best that I can. That's the very best I can do. I can't do anything else. And Kissinger looked at him and says, good. Now I will read it. And I thought to myself, you know, isn't this amazing? Because do we really put the best into everything? And here again, as I'm putting these things together in my mind, saying, are we really putting the best forward? So if I could take a program, and all of our shows, which we produce over 21 shows, if I could take a show and always with the theme, let the people know, informing the public with facts, and making it neighborhood, keeping it a neighborhood. We were very fortunate to have a merger, a media merger with the Standard Speaker, and then very fortunate to have a merger here with Mike Joyce and the Republican Herald. And here's the difference. I hear this story about, well, papers are going down the tubes, and who watches local news, who does this, etc. And then I said, well, wait a minute. I would hope that at any point in time, we never lose the newspaper. I would hope that our local television programming would continue on, because what do? We bring you neighborhood information. Those people say, I don't read the paper, until there's something in the paper that affects them, and all of a sudden, they're reading the paper, okay? I look here, high school students honored for promoting diversity. It's your backyard. It's what the paper brings to us. Over 50 employees, Mike tells me. I walked into a restaurant in Hazleton about 3 weeks ago, and I had a meeting upstairs and walked in, and when I walked in, there's people, Sam, I saw the show, like this, like that, etc. And the cook's there. And we're trying to sell them advertising, a package. Found out that the cook says no one watches their channel. No one watches their channel. Was he there when everyone was saying, how are you, how you doing, etc., etc.? And I began to think all these things in my mind. How do we convey to the public honest facts? Because we really have a lot that we could offer. I looked at some of the accomplishments that we did in healthcare. One of the strongest healthcare agencies that has been on with us for many, many years is Lehigh Valley Health Network. This is a company that truly gives back to the community. So let's talk about the shows I do, the Sam Lesante show with LVHN and the It's Your Health show. I can't tell you how many times my wife, Debbie, and I are somewhere, and someone will come up to me, a lady and a gentleman came up to me and said, Sammy, I want to thank you for having the show with the doctor. It saved my husband's life. Another daughter who had breast cancer, 18 years old, saw the show on mammograms. It saved her life. So I'm thinking, well, these are things that we bring to the public, keeping in mind always, let the people know. But then sometimes when you're trusting people and you try to surround yourself with the best, there's sometimes people let you down. And then it reminded me of the story of the little boy on the hill. He was playing. And he sees it's starting to get dark, so he puts his hat on, gets his little lunch bucket, and he's ready to walk down the hill, and there's a snake on the ground. And the snake says to the little boy, hey, little boy, where are you going? He says, oh, I'm going down the bottom of the hill, I'm going home. And the snake said, would you do me a favor? He said, what? He said, would you carry me down the bottom of the hill? The little boy said, oh, no, you're a snake. You'll bite me. You know, I can't. The snake said, little boy, I'm asking you to do me a favor. You can trust me. You'll become my friend. And the little boy said, do you promise me? Do you give me your word? He says, I give you my word. I will not bite you. So the little boy puts the snake in his pocket, goes down to the bottom of the hill, takes the snake out, puts him down, boom, the snake bites him. Little boy said, you bit me. You promised me. You gave me your word. You told me that you'd be my friend. You told me I could trust you. And the snake looked at him and said, "You knew what I was when you picked me up." And sometimes in life, we know some of the people, we know, and we try to avoid those things because they're not going to change. When I started 1990, 92, went on an endeavor of doing local neighborhood news. People that I thought were my friends turned on me. I was called a dog crap picker from Pottsville. Who does he think he is? What's he going to do? And you know what I did? I turned to the average person and I said, "Hey, those high muckamuckas, I don't need them. What I do need is the average person out there who goes to work, raises a family, and service them. And keep in mind, let the people know." Because I was dealing with people who were jealous, who were envy. And then you have what they call, which is probably the destruction in this country, is called egos. You put egos in and all of a sudden, it's a difficult task. So as I began to develop programming, every show, and we're here, as you know, every night from 7 to 11 on Channel 190 in the Pottsville area, Channel 7 many years ago, and probably half of you in this room have met at one time, and you've been always gracious to us. Mike Joyce at the Republican Herald has been absolutely fabulous to us because we work together in bringing good information. In closing, I want to tell you a story. You know, it's great that you have the Rotary. As you know, I was the president of JC's, got the Distinguished Award. But anyway, thinking about dealing with people, we would meet at JC's twice a week, as well as the Lions Club. And a good friend of mine, I hadn't seen in a while, his name is Richard. And it was a rainy, snowy, miserable day, February. I had piano and organ stores at the time, and I was leaving my piano store to go and make a deposit. As I get out on Wyoming Street, rain, sleet, snow. It was a miserable, terrible day. I'm talking to myself walking down. What a miserable day. This sucks, blah, 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 complaining. Right before I'm ready to go in the bank, who do I see across the street but Richard, who I hadn't seen in 3 months. Very close friend of mine. Walked across the street. "Richard, how are you?" First of all, what a lousy, terrible, miserable, rotten day this is. And Richard said, "Sam, do you know where I've been?" I said, "No, where the hell have you been? I haven't seen you in 3 months." He said, "Well, I had a brain tumor." I said, "Oh, Richard, I'm sorry to hear that. And let me tell you what happened, Sam." "What?" He said, he has 6 children, very conservative person, never had a television. And he's with his wife and 6 children. The doctor came in before he had his surgery. And the doctor says, "Richard, you have a 50-50 chance of making it." Then he looked at me and he said, "Isn't this a beautiful day?" And I said, "You son of a so-and-so." And I said, wait a minute. Here's a guy that appreciated that day, no matter what it was. And bingo, I said, "Well, you know, Sam, surround yourself with people who are positive. You don't need the negativity. Yes, it's a bad day. Yes, you have problems. Yes, we have concerns. But sometimes when you wake up and you're in a good mood, you go to the naysayers. No matter what you say, it's negative." 90 days later, Richard died. But I can tell you something. He probably lived better in those 90 days than some people live in 5 years. Because he instilled in me to try to be around people who are positive and help people. We don't have to be negative. Yes, we have our problems in life. But as we continue to produce and we continue to bring information, local news, neighborhood is important. Because when you have an event, you don't call the New York Times. You call Mike Joyce and say, "Mike, we're having an event. Could you send a reporter here? Could you do this? Could you do that?" When you're doing local stuff like we had in paper today, we have a gentleman, Mark Daniels, who is a sheriff, who told us about the problems we have with fentanyl. Not political, it was factual. This is what we bring. So I hope that we've been able to do that. I hope we can continue to do that. You know, so it's always so nice to know that you're helping people. And yet, we do get some of the naysayers. All I say is I wish them well, but you know, it's called a remote. And all you have to do is change the channel. And same thing with the paper. You don't have to paper, but however, let me tell you something. Let's pray that we always have a paper. Let's pray that we always have regional neighborhood news like we're producing. The relationship we have with the paper, we have nothing to do with their reporters. What it is we promote the regional paper or local paper, indicating that there's information in the paper. They put our information out saying this is what the program is about. And it's at that particular point in time. So we don't have any control over their reporters, they don't have any control over us, but it's a fact that we're promoting local programming and local things that are happening in our neighborhood, which is important, you know. So, I mean, you could write a whole full article, but here, sometimes on TV, you have a different perspective. But we needed to find out what kind of results are we getting. Because when we're going to get political ads, the agencies, as you know, Joanne, they want to know what are your demographics, who's watching you, you know, if you're representing, you know, etc. And so we hired Susquehanna Polling and Research. It's a scientific poll. We have nothing to do with it. They are probably, well, they were voted the best polling system in the country. And so we let that go. Here it is. So we found out, thank God, our numbers were fantastic. My show, the Sam Lesante Show, is seen from north of Harrisburg to Kingston on the three systems we have. And, excuse me, 56,000 people watch the Sam Lesante Show from Sunday morning to Saturday night. And that's covering 250,000 households. And I could tell you probably stories I know working with John Patton, Hazelton, the people who have run ads in the paper, okay, have done extremely well. You're just bringing information to them. So that's involved I am in the business. You know, there's no such thing as retirement. First, I wouldn't know what to do with retirement. But we're very active in it. I'm very fortunate to have my son and my daughter who are involved in the business, you know. But we're open at all times to what can we do to let the people know. And I think if you don't have a substance in life and you don't treat people the way you want to be treated, it comes back and bites you, okay? Any other questions?
Any more questions, Sam or son?
Okay. Thank you so much for having me.